This is the government news brief for today, Thursday, August 25, 2016. Welcome. In the news, transportation relief coming for Berbice River communities. Guyana and China continue partnership for development. 2 more communities get Jubilee grants. And investing in police personnel in Region 7 pays off. Stay tuned as we bring you the details of these and other stories. Thank you for staying with us. I am Azim Khan. Here now are the details. Indigenous communities along the Berbice River will soon get relief to transport their produce to coastal markets. Delisa Haynes has this report.
Residents in riverine communities along the Berbice River who have been struggling to transport produce to markets along the coastline will now benefit from the resuscitation of the Berbice ferry service.
I am aware that a decision has been made, and I believe the resources have already been provided for the resuscitation of a ferry service in the Berbice River.
Minister Bulkan noted that the Ministries of Communities and Public Infrastructure are working on the issue.
This is one issue that was brought to the respective partners in the now coalition government, and is a commitment that was given, and it is a pledge and a promise that the administration is determined to deliver on.
This and other issues were raised by Amerindian councillors and Tushaus at Day 2 of the National Tushaus Council Meeting 2016 at the Arthur Chung Convention Centre, Liliendal. The Berbice River is a prime agricultural area, but over the years, many persons had turned away from farming because of the lack of transportation for their produce. For the Government News Brief, I am Delicia Haynes.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu says China is a friend of Guyana and Chinese must be given a level playing field in which to operate like any other investor. Details in this report.
Addressing guests at a reception held at the Chinese embassy in recognition of the last batch of persons trained in China, the Prime Minister spoke of Guyana-China's friendship and business relationship.
When companies come to Guyana, including Chinese companies, we would expect them to provide employment for Guyanese. We would expect them to deal and obey and conform with the laws of Guyana.
Chinese ambassador to Guyana, Ambassador Zhang Laimin, through his interpreter, says that China will continue to work with Guyana for its further development. However, he is concerned about the negatives published in the media about Chinese businesses.
因为我们使馆也一直要求中资企业遵守当地法律法规合法经营。
Because the Chinese embassy always require the local Chinese companies to abide by the local laws and operate it in a legal way.
Guyana and China's relationship is more than forging bilateral relations. The Prime Minister has committed to the Chinese ambassador that the Guyana government will continue to work towards strengthening relations between the two countries. A new batch of persons will soon depart to undertake studies in China. Renetta LaFleur for the Government News Brief.
2 more communities have joined the close to 40 hinterland communities which have received Jubilee grants to implement community-oriented projects. Here is that report.
A total of $2.5 million was this morning handed over to the Tushaus of Rokomoto and Catunarib Region 9. Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Sidney Alicock presented a check valued $1 million to Tushau Vanika Edwin of Rokomoto to undertake a water project in her village.
I know water is a key component for agricultural development and for the survival of your people. So I'd like to wish you well in the completion and the service of this well that you're going to be operating.
This is to help the elderly people who are living in that particular satellite area. And they have been struggling for over a year, requesting for water system to be established. But it has never been established, and now I'm going to work on it as I have received this check.
$1.5 million was handed over to Tushau Marcus Alexander of Catunarib for a sheep rearing project, which the minister says will help with food security.
I know that you, with good management, you would be able to bring added value to food security within Region 9.
Tushau Alexander details how the money will be utilized in the sheep rearing project.
We will be pushing ahead with our sheep rearing project, and which will improve and in the community to get mutton that will serve our hot meal and others around when we are called upon.
Additionally, a bus worth $3 million was handed over to Senior Councillor of Kaimawata Village Region 9, Miranda Stephen, to facilitate transportation of children to school, pensioners to the post office, and sick persons to health institutions. Shanta Goberdan with his government news brief.
Indigenous leaders raised their concerns over trafficking in persons with Social Protection Minister Valda Lawrence. Details in this report.
Participants at the National Tushaus Council meeting shared their concerns and suggestions on Wednesday on tackling trafficking in persons tip with Minister of Social Protection Valda Lawrence. Among the participants' concerns were the availability of post-traumatic care, measures in place for male victims, and large-scale and mining companies' alleged engagement in trafficking in persons. Minister Lawrence, in addressing their concerns, urged the over 200 leaders to play their part in eliminating TIP.
We heard about the crimes being committed where there are mining communities, and you're absolutely right. And a few months ago, in my discussion with the Honorable Minister of Natural Resources, I indicated to him that we have to work together. Persons go to a new community and they feel they can do whatever they want to do. And in conjunction with that, I'm also speaking with the Minister of Public Security, because in some of these communities, we found that the police are there, but they are non-existent in terms of providing that service.
Antonio Hackett, Community Development Officer Region 10, highlighted his concern to Minister Lawrence.
What are the follow-up services being offered to young children, both male and female, who had been sexually assaulted by close family members or close friends of the community?
The Social Protection Minister underlined the importance of parents and guardians inquiring where their children will be taken, who they will be staying with, and urged taking note of addresses and contact information for those who will be employing their children. TIP is a major concern for the country's first people, since many of them travel to the city or leave their communities in search of jobs. Some of them fall prey to exploitation, sex slavery, and modern-day slavery. For this government news brief, I am Delicia Haynes.
Any revision of the Amerindian Act will affect laws on mining, forestry, and other areas. This matter is being discussed at the National Tushaus Conference taking place in Georgetown. More in this report.
Natural Resources Minister Raphael Trotman says his ministry is prepared to do its part if the Amerindian Act is to be revised.
Once the government has said that it is going to revise the Amerindian Act, it therefore means that any other act that needs to be adjusted accordingly will have to be adjusted accordingly. And we have no difficulty at the Ministry of Natural Resources in playing our part in doing what needs to be done and what is necessary.
The agencies under the Ministry of Natural Resources are the Guyana Forestry Commission, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, and the Guyana Gold Board. Revision of the Amerindian Act is one of the focus areas of the National Tushaus Council meeting being held this week. NTC's Vice Chairman Lennox Schumann questioned Minister Trotman's commitment to making the necessary amendments to the agencies under his ministry.
The Amerindian Act cannot be an act of strength without examining the Forestry Act, the Mines Act, and the Protected Areas Act.
The indigenous people have been calling for a review of the 2006 Amerindian Act so as to give them more oversight control. The indigenous people also want the sections dealing with free, prior, and informed consent and land issues reviewed. The Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs has already begun consultations in indigenous communities towards the Act's revision. Shanta Goberdan with this government news brief.
Additional police ranks and resources are credited for a reduction in serious crimes in Police F Division. More in this Kadaki Amsterdam report.
Police F Division comprises Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. Commander of the division, Senior Superintendent Ravindra Budram, says serious crimes in these hinterland regions are at their lowest in 10 years.
In terms of serious crimes, we have experienced a drop or a decrease by 52%. We see a reduction in murders. We see a reduction in break-and-enters and robberies, while there is a high number of sexual offences matters.
Senior Superintendent Budram says that the marked reduction in serious crimes is a direct result of effective policing through resources acquired during the first half of the year.
For this year, we have gotten a boost with ranks in terms of manpower. 68 persons, new police or recruits came to the division with more ranks. We have more ATVs, more boats, more engines. Region 7, we have boats, additional boats, an engine to patrol the Marjoni Cayuni, Inako, Isano, and Koropong area.
Further, the divisional commander says law enforcement in the expansive hinterland regions continues to be challenging.
The terrain, distance. Police have to cover a lot of distance when going to reports or attending to reports or doing investigation. The language now with the Brazilians in the Baghdad, the Armenian community, some of them, they speak their own dialect. Communications.
Meanwhile, residents of the hinterland communities continue to complain about the presence of gangs and use of illicit drugs in their communities.
All this smoking marijuana and other things like selling alcohol, they say that is a part of development. And these things is taking place, especially in these mining areas. When I was learning or hearing from other friends of mine about this marijuana smoking and others, I want to believe those are mining areas. Well, Mine Village is really a mining area, and these things are taking place.
Kidaki Amsterdam for Government News Brief.
Those are the reports we covered in today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on GINA's website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. To be updated as the news unfolds, subscribe to our website and YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. All government and other information can be accessed from GINA's website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. Do join us again tomorrow when we bring you another edition of this, the Government News Brief. Thank you for watching.